That's what a discipline policy says.
Absolutely, have to be respectful.
But in the panel discussion,
Teachers, not just.
Yeah, everyone.
in the panel discussion this morning, there was a similar point being discussed. That question of whether, well, the autocratic style, maybe there's a problem with the autocratic style, but if we get rid of it, will there be chaos? What I wanted to say, then I wasn't on the panel, so I didn't, but what I wanted to say was that actually the problem in somewhere like America or England is that we talk about respect and we talk about democracy, and then children come into the classroom and actually they're given a very different message. It still is very top down. So the problem is not that there's not an autocratic structure,
Right.
is that actually people don't follow through, and there isn't that peer-to-peer respect. So people say, well, everyone's been telling me that you want to hear my voice, and that my opinion matters, and that everyone is equal, and then I come into the classroom and I'm treated like a drunk. So I think, in a way, it's yeah, no, you put it pretty better than I can say. Other
As we are talking about, the one thing which is very important that we have to take students as individuals.
Yeah.
They are individuals and they may have problems that day when they misbehave, or they might be having some problem for a stretch of time at home or somewhere in the school. So the most important thing is that we have to keep the channels of communication open. The more we talk, like she said, the children counseling, the more we talk, the better we know our students.
Yeah.
And this kind of problems, they never arise because we know from where are they coming.
Yeah, that is very true. Very true.
Mostly when we follow a discipline issue, like maybe one or two kids in there, just like the boys' side, very good. So it's always something, the more you date, it's always something wrong at home.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because we are patient, we give the kids so much time in Beaconhouse.
Yeah.
Still things don't work out.
Yeah.
It comes a wrong example for the other children. If something family is coughing,
Yeah.
they are copying him. The more you pull the room,
Yeah.
there will be something
There's
there.
something there, yeah. I think that tracing the root back to its,
It's not
the issue back to its root is so
not-
important. We're nearly out of time, but are there any other questions or are there any other examples? There are so many good conversations here.
Just a little
Yes,
comment.
please, yeah.
It's a food for thought. Normally parents want their first child when they conceive a child and the child is born. But in this part of the world especially, we want to make the first child a model child. Everything is done for that child. He should be the best, he should be good academically, well behaved, he should sit like this, he should stand like this.
Dear boy.
Other than that, even if it's a girl, even if it's a girl. So that child who's being trained like this never has a childhood. He's always an adult till the time he reaches his O levels, A levels, and then he realizes that he never had a childhood.
Yeah, I think.
See? So it's the way we treat children that they learn how to react. If we deal with them as children, they remain children. The child inside them remains. And if we treat them as adults, they start behaving the same way. It's the way we treat them as parents and as teachers. Teachers also have a very important responsibility. The day you tell them you are a grown-up big kid now, they start behaving like that.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Understand that.
I think it's a really good point, and I think again it comes back to this point about understanding each child. It's not just their individual psychology. It's not just their home life. Are they the oldest? There's a lot of research actually on the difference between the oldest child that points out exactly. It's not just in Pakistan. It's a very common theme. The oldest one always takes all the responsibility on.
And by the time you reach the last one, he's the rowdiest of the lot.
Yes,
and all rules are relaxed for the child, and you know.
I'm the youngest child. I can vouch for this.
And that always turns into the brightest. That child is always the brightest.
Yes, he's allowed to live.
Does getting to know each child individually practically mean reducing the teacher-student ratio?
Ideally, yes. I mean, I've got to say. I mean, I think if you've got a classroom of 30 children, as much as you try, you can try doing some of these things, but I think, to be honest, that's probably, of all the practical measures, of all the practical things in the classroom, that's probably the most important. I think that's absolutely right. I think if you've got a class of 30 people, we've been talking a lot about when you really transform somebody because you had a quiet conversation with them or because you watched this. And watching 30 people at the same time is very, very difficult. So practically, yes, I think. Yes.
We have 25, don't we?
25, 26.
25 years.
No, we have 30, 35.
We have and as early as class 1s and 2s and 3s, we have the 28 plus students. But I've been dealing with that.
I suppose the only constructive thing I would say about that is that when you do have a large classroom, you then, I think it forces you as a teacher to start thinking of different ways of teaching. So for example, it might be that you have to build enough trust in your class that they can do things autonomously. So like here, for example, we've got a group of, how many it is, 30, 35 people, 30 people, whatever it is. And because you're all responsible, engaged people who are listening to what's happening, you can all be talking amongst yourselves. And I, as the teacher, if you like, can go around and just spend a bit of time with each group and have that, and that way, it's not an absolute solution, but if you begin thinking of ways, how can I break down the classroom? How can I let them, how can I let children do things themselves that then gives me that opportunity to have a few one-to-one connections or even one-to-4 connections, and that it's just one little nugget that I think.
When you're going to the class, every day you're going to the class, and for the rest of the time you get to know about each and every child. It's not that difficult, because obviously if one day we're going to the class and we're teaching them, so it's hard to know. But if every day during the session we're teaching them and there are lessons going on, assessments going on, so you just get to know about the students. It's not that difficult if a teacher is interested.
It's not the ideal situation.
It's what?
It's not the ideal situation. But 25 years.
Okay, I'm very aware that if I talk for any more, or if we go any longer, then we'll all miss tea, and then you'll come and track me down for ruining your tea break. But I just wanted to thank you all very, very much. You're a fantastic group.
This was the best session we had all day.
I've got